With Sylvia Morrison. She is in Ghana, West Africa. So if you could just give me one moment while I search for her. Sylvia. She is one of the co-authors in the So Sylvia does humanitarian work in Ghana for children, and she has built libraries. She's done really incredible things. So I just need her. Okay, Cans, thank you for joining. Let's see, Miss Sylvia. Okay, well, basically, I'll just get started talking about the book project. There are 25 different stories in this book, and 25 different stories in the book, and all of us are sharing. Oh, good, there she is. All of us are sharing. Hello, Sylvia. I can't hear you. Hold
That's
on.
asking me.
Now
Yeah,
I can hear you.
because I was wondering how this was going to happen on GoToMeeting and Instagram at the same time.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's not always the most seamless with like a Zoom or something, but I do think that it's a great option. And I don't have a podcast or anything for now. It's just the lives, but I
yes,
think that either way, I'm really glad to be connecting with you, Sylvia.
absolutely, absolutely. So should I just close down the GoToMeeting then?
Ah, yes,
Yeah.
and that's okay. Just here on our phone.
Okay.
Okay, well,
Hopefully.
I just like I said, I don't really have interview questions per se. I just wanted to get to know you.
Yeah.
For everybody watching, this is the first time I've ever actually met or chatted with Sylvia one on one. Although I have seen you quite a few times on the group calls with our publisher. But Sylvia, if you could just tell us a little bit about the work that you do, then I would love to hear it in your own words.
Mm, thank you. It's good to be here with you.
Thank
Yeah, it's exciting. Links Across Borders is my passion project. It's an organization that I founded in 2009 after supporting children in Ghana for several years, paying school fees and helping out. Um, and I started Links Across Borders so that I could continue to do that work and also to expand because I could see that the need was so great,
you.
right? That started though before I founded the organization because it's actually something that it was a dream in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And it popped out of my mouth in a way that I didn't expect. In fact, there are times you have a dream in your heart and you're not even conscious of it.
Sure.
Yeah, so I had this dream in my heart to travel to Africa someday, like many people,
Mm-hmm.
someday. And someday kept creeping closer and closer. And so it was like having a conversation about Christmas in December of 2003 with a friend of mine. And she said she wasn't doing Christmas shopping, but she was sending money home. I was living in Canada at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And she said she was sending money home to her mom to host a Christmas party for kids in her village.
Wow.
And I just thought, oh my gosh, that's wonderful. I would love to do that. Sometimes you hear somebody say something and you just feel like, yeah, I'd love to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt that and I said it out loud. And she said, but how would you? And I said, well, how are you doing it? And she told me she's sending money home. I said, then I could just give you some money. The truth is, at that time, I was actually going through a really hard financial time in my own life. But when spirit tells you something, you don't get to hear all of the conditions that usually stop us.
Yeah.
So I just heard what was possible. So I said it, and once it already came out, then I thought, wow, that could really happen. So she said, okay, how much do you want to give? And I just looked in my wallet. I had $75 and I gave it to her. I said, I don't know what this can do, but here you go. She took it and she sent it home with whatever the amount was that she was already sending to her mom.
Mm-hmm.
And so we sent that money home to Ghana. And February of the following year, I saw pictures of the kids at the party enjoying, looking so beautiful, eating food that I would love to eat. Didn't know what that was, but I just felt so good that I had something to do with
Mm-hmm.
that. You know, there was so much joy in the pictures. I just wanted to do some more of that. And then I started asking her about the children, and I found out that many of them were not going to school.
Mm.
Yeah. Now, I've been an educator all my life,
Okay.
all my adult
Okay.
life. But growing up as a little girl, I grew up in Jamaica. I was born and raised in Jamaica.
Okay.
And so growing up in Jamaica, I also knew that kind of life where there are children in my village who were not going to school because their parents couldn't afford. And although I was going to school, it was very tough. So I knew what it was like, you know, and to feel like I was in a position where I could help a child to go to school, I thought that was a gift to me
Mm.
to give to the little girl that I was,
Sure.
you know? And
Mm-hmm.
so I just told her, tell your mother to send us a list of the names. I'm still going through a financial situation, eh?
Yeah.
But I'm making it happen. I said, tell
Sure.
your mother to send us a list of the names and we'll see what we can do. And
Mm-hmm.
so the list of names came, and I just went like eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and picked 6 names. And I had no idea how much it was going to cost, but I picked 6 names. And I found out how much it would cost, and I started sending them to school, and I did it for 3 years before I ever came to
Wow.
Ghana.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And so from doing that, it led to each year I kept coming back. I couldn't stop. This is the thing. I invite people to come and visit us here, but I also say to them, once you come, we're going to give you the germs, huh?
Yeah. And they won't want to leave,
The love
right?
bug. Yeah, we will inoculate you with love and you will want more of it. And
Yeah.
so that happened to me, and I just kept coming. And then in 2013, I built the first library.
Wow.
I had been, over the years, I kept bringing books to give to children and donate to schools in different communities. And then in 2012, I had a bigger dream. It just came to my heart. And I was saying to the community I was visiting at that time, I said to them, you know what, next year I'm going to build a library. And when that came out, I just thought, oh my gosh, how is that going to happen?
Sure. Yeah.
And so it happened. I went back, I returned to Canada, and I heard myself in my classroom. I was teaching at one of the colleges in Toronto at the time, George Brown College. And I said to my first year students that I'll be offering an international placement to students in the spring. They could get to volunteer with one of my projects, my library projects in Ghana. It was the first one that was going to happen.
Wow.
That was the first one. And immediately I said that, one student shot her hand up and said, I want to go. How do I apply? Yeah. See how big my eyes get right now?
Mhm. Sure.
That's
Yeah.
how big they got. Because I didn't have a plan, honestly.
Yeah.
I had no plan laid out. I didn't have a process laid out. But I said it because it was in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And within a matter of months, there were 16 people
Oh my gosh,
ready.
that all wanted to go with you to help build the library?
That's right. There were 16, a group of 16 traveled with me to Ghana.
Oh
We
my
completed the first library, Links Across Borders.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's incredible, Sylvia. I almost want to cry. Like I can really feel it behind my eyeballs, just like the tension. Um, that's really,
Yes,
I
the
love
tenth.
what Yeah, I love what you said that, you just kind of said it. I feel like you're really I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've had this experience where I felt really, heart open, just connected. And then I've had that too, where I'm like, all of a sudden I'm saying something, but I
Yeah.
feel, we're so used to in our heads, just, kind of trying to find the reason how it's going to work. Am I crazy for doing this? And then
Mm-hmm.
it's just kind of the way I think a lot of us are trained
Mm-hmm.
because that's like logical. And, anytime we're asking for advice, I feel like people are giving us that logical advice. But then you're
Yes.
right, like you don't have to have a plan if it's really coming from your heart. It will, it will all just work out. And like the details really, like miracles happen all the time. And
All
so
the time.
if you just have that intention and the energy behind it, and if you really
Yes.
declare it, I really do believe that like all kinds of things, like the logical plan, it'll work itself
Yeah.
out. um, and I think it's a matter of taking the step before you're ready or before, right? And then so everybody thinks like the logical sequence is, you plan out these things in a logical sequence, but really like miracles don't happen in a logical sequence. You just
No.
have to listen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I often, I say to my clients when I work with folks, I say to them, look, let's not get all the details.
Sure. Yes.
Because what I know for sure, I know this from living my life, and it's
Mm-hmm.
a beautiful life. When you get all the details scare you.
They totally do. 100%. Sylvia, so hard. Don't worry about the details. It'll happen.
So I'm not saying we shouldn't think about the risk and
Sure.
whatever, but for me, I say focus on how does that make you feel?
Mm.
What happens
So good.
inside you? Yeah. What happens inside you when you say, this is what I'm doing? What happens inside you?
Hmm.
Work with that
Yeah.
because because what is inside you is your power,
Hmm.
really.
Really.
That feeling of fear, is also, it's the same energy, a feeling of
Hmm.
excitement. And we label it as fear.
Yeah, we label it as fear, right? I think that's really good. I meant to talk about this in my like I did that interview style keynote with Kate on at her global summit, right? And I
Yes.
meant to talk about this exact thing, but we did get a little bit off on a different tangent. But what I really wanted to talk about was just using your feelings as your internal guidance system. And
Yes.
I have this where I'll declare. I'm not really sure the right way to go, right? And then
Hmm.
I'll declare it, like I will go to college in Bellingham and I'll just see how that feels.
Yes.
And if I feel like, ooh, yucky, like that's not right. Well, I had the opposite experience. That's how I made my college decision is I just felt right. Or like one time I had a date with somebody and I
Yes.
was like, you know what? No, I'm gonna end this day early. And as I was walking away, I had a feeling of regret in my stomach. And then I was like, oh, that's weird. And then I
Hmm.
turned back around. And I was like, you know what? Maybe we should do this again.
Yeah.
And but I just feel
Yes.
like it's really important to listen to that. And we're
Yes.
always up here listening to our heads of
Yes.
like what's logical and what would our parents want us to do, and love my
Hmm.
parents, but also like, they don't have the same experience in that as I do and like the same internal guidance system. And I
That,
just feel like as we're going through our life and we have these big things happen, good or bad or hard or easy, whatever,
mhm.
like every one of those is just fine tuning our intuition, right? So that way,
Absolutely.
I just turned 34, so I feel like I'm at a place in my life where I really feel like I'm really trusting that more and more. And I've done that a couple of things. Like I started my own business. It'll be about 3 years ago, and I
Mm.
social media, so I run social media campaigns for businesses. But I remember thinking like in my heart, I absolutely wanted to do that, and I had been wanting to do that for like 10 years, to be honest. And I
Mm.
was just too scared, and I would never leave my day job, and I just got too bogged down in details. And so I had that. And finally, the desire was just so strong, I couldn't ignore it anymore.
Good.
And I had to like stop listening to what everybody else was saying and, and just go off and do it. And I knew it was the right thing. And I just, boss was giving me all these like scary things about the economy, this, and the world's
Yeah.
going in a crazy direction, this, and like all the things, right? But you
Yeah.
know, like I had to trust myself to make that decision because it's my life.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it that at at this age I'm double your age.
Okay.
Yes. And I know all the wanderings that can happen in the forest when you don't, thank God it was the forest, when
Mhm.
you don't follow what your heart is telling you to do.
I know.
Yes.
You pay a high price when you don't listen to your.
I mean, I have paid dearly.
Mm-hmm.
So you just, if I was living in a world where following your intuition was a noble thing to do, I would have earlier. But I tell you, I'm really happy for you that you are at this stage. Don't stop.
Okay.
Just know that, and I say that to everyone who is listening, just know that the folks in our lives who will say to us when we're following our heart instead of our heads, who will say to us, that is crazy, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
They want the best
Of
for
course. Yeah.
us. They do love us and they care. And so instead of us, saying, oh, they're just trying to control us, or this is my life, blah, 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 I say to them, I know you love me dearly.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for trying to
Sure.
protect me.
Yep.
And when I need your help, I hope you will be there for me because I'm jumping off this cliff following my heart.
Yeah.
And I'm expecting that spirit will catch me.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I fall, if spirit didn't catch me, which I know that never will happen,
True.
never fails. But if, so that they know, I still want you here. I want you in my life. I'm not driving you away. I want you here, right? But I have to do this because each of us have come to this earth with a mandate on our lives to do something different,
Mhm.
something unique.
True.
Like even if there's somebody else with the same name as you and look exactly like you, they're not here to do what you're here to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for sure there isn't anybody like me in this whole universe.
That's true. And I think it's important to have that conversation with ourselves internally too, because I think we will have that internal voice that's like, don't do it.
Yes.
It's crazy. Like you don't even have money saved up or
Yes.
whatever. And so you just have to, I do that to myself and I go, okay, like, I know this is like the Sarah's lizard brain, like my survival brain, right? Like,
Yeah.
thank you for trying to protect. And I say that sometimes when I catch myself, I'll say that to myself kind of, and just try to have the inner dialogue of like, miracles have happened before. You've pulled like a surprise miracle in the past before. You've organized funds and capital before. So I have to have that conversation with myself
Yes.
internally
Yeah.
too. Probably
Yeah.
more than it with anybody else, honestly.
No, it's
Yeah,
important. It's important because sometimes we talk to too many other
it's
people
true.
and we don't listen to ourselves or
Mm,
we don't talk to ourselves. So
that's
it's
so.
important.
I agree with
Important
that.
to do.
I like what
Yeah.
you said earlier about, your passion of doing this education work for
Hmm.
children, kind of
Hmm.
comes from something that you experienced as a younger person, right? You went to school, but,
Yeah.
you knew of people that didn't. And so
Yeah.
I actually think about that. I mentioned that in my chapter, how, me thriving right now is very much an offering to the younger
Hmm.
version of myself
Yeah.
who was struggling. And I
Hmm.
have that visualization sometimes where we'll like, picture myself at 17 or at 6 or whatever the year is,
Age.
right?
Yeah.
And I'll just be like, this is for you. So every time I have a win, like publishing this book, for example, or whatever it might be, like there was a Sarah. I mean, I remember being in 8th grade when people in my yearbook, like I didn't have very many friends. I feel like I was
Hmm.
done, like, you know, an outcast kind of, but people in my yearbook, they wrote, Sarah, you're such a good writer, back in 8th grade. And I was like, wow. And I never went with that because again, I was listening to other people's opinions and I was like, well, I'll do business school and I'll do all these other things, like not what my passion is.
Yes.
And it's just kind of funny. Like that passion is going to come out, like your heart's desire is going to come out eventually. So you might as well
Mhm.
just first hear it instead of
Exactly.
like they're not having that same passion, right? So
That's right.
I think that I don't know if everybody else does that, but I think for me, offering my wins to like my younger self is something
Yes.
that I think about often. Yeah,
Yes. Yes. And
yeah.
yes, I resonate with that because even, folks say to me from time to time, you live such a sacrificial life. Like you're just giving your whole life to this. And I say to folks sometimes, yeah, I'm doing it because I'm selfish. When I say that, they think, what? It doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
But what I really mean is that I'm giving it to myself.
Mhm.
I'm doing it. Thousands of children benefit, and
Wow.
I am proud and grateful. We've completed 8 libraries to date.
Ah,
We have, yeah, we've
incredible.
served thousands of children have gone through our programs, and we continue to expand and grow. But I'm doing it for myself also.
Mhm.
I
Because it feels
am.
good, huh?
It feels, I think sometimes when I am like, when I show up at a school and I have, like last year when the school in this community didn't have their textbooks,
Mm.
and I was able to organize and buy textbooks for this school
Wow.
so that every class would have textbooks in their classroom. And everybody was so excited and grateful. And I think I was happier than everybody.
Mm.
They just don't understand
Mhm.
that the experience they're having is very different than the one I'm having. Because
It's
I'm having it as if I am receiving
yeah.
this gift,
Mm. That's so good.
you know? Yeah. And I think that we all have that in us somewhere. The desire to give to our little child inside of us something in this life. And for many, they're scared,
Yeah.
scared of doing it. And that's why I said yes to writing this my chapter in this book. Because, like, I think Believe Beyond, that title, like, how could you say no to it if
Exactly.
you're someone who you follow your intuition, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's only when you're following your intuition can you believe beyond.
It's so true.
Yeah, so in my chapter, I talk about believing beyond the circumstances, right? Believing beyond what I already know,
Mhm.
what I can see around me,
Yeah.
believing beyond the logic, believing beyond the facts of my circumstances.
Mhm.
Because, yeah, the facts that are visible are not the only facts.
It's true. It's
Yeah,
true.
we
Yeah.
might be seeing, I might be living in a condition where, well, if I look at my bank account, there might not be a lot of money in my bank account. That doesn't mean that there isn't a lot more money or abundance of money available to me.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
And that's for everybody else
Yeah.
too.
Well, when I
Yeah.
was on that call, like the first discovery call with Kate, because a friend had sent me the opportunity, like you should, this book's coming out, you should add to it. And I did that where I was like, no, like I don't really have the money right now to do that, and
Yeah.
no, but I thought, I've always wanted to write a book, like since eighth grade, whenever I wrote
Yes.
that in my yearbook. And so I was like, well, I'll just go on the call with Kate, like just a discovery call. I won't buy, but I'll just learn what it's about or
Yeah.
whatever. But then, of course, that was one of those other decisions where I got off the call and I was like, "Yep, I'm gonna do it. I don't know how, but I'm gonna do it. Don't have the money. I'll figure out how to do it." And I actually was and I feel like you have to take that next step if it feels right,
Yes.
because I had just got off that call and I decided I was going to make it happen. I don't know how. And then I called people for money. I legit was like, Grandpa, Dad, like, will you please like be investors in this book and whatever. And I framed it up. And of course, I'll be selling books and all the things like ROI, this and that.
Yeah.
And they all told me no, but I already like I just decided. And so what the crazy thing that happened was like I did a class for my business. Like I taught a social media workshop.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of my clients randomly just paid a month in advance. And the amount of this investment was for the amount of this investment, that was exactly the amount of money that I made really
You
quick within
needed.
3 days. Within 3 days that I was like, I'm gonna do this book deal. I don't know how. And I was just
Yeah.
so fired up about it. And the energy in my heart
Yes.
was just so fired. I was like, I'm
Yes.
absolutely doing it. I don't know how, but it's absolutely happening. And then within
Yes.
2 days, I had the money, and within $15, like it was
Yes.
$50 short of like the actual investment, but
Yeah.
$15. Come on, you know?
You can find $15. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's just
Yeah.
kind of another example of like you just have to realize it. And like I've been wanting to write a book, and and I did write a book actually years ago, but I just didn't know how to market it, or I didn't have an audience, so it kind of
Yes.
flopped. But like I was just like, you know what? I've wanted to do this for over 10 years,
Yeah.
and if I could have done it on my own, it would have been done by now.
That's
Or
right.
like, and so I just think that like a 15-year goal basically happened in about 3 months because I signed on with her right after Thanksgiving, and I was one of the last people. So
Wow.
she needed the chapter. She's like, I need your chapter in like 3 weeks, and I was like, oh my god. And it just
That was
happened
me.
so fast, and so all of a sudden, like a 14-year goal is done in like 3 months, and so I think that's another example too.
Yeah.
Is you might think like it takes a long time to write a book, it takes a long time, whatever, but if it's right and you go with what you're feeling, it can
Yeah.
happen so fast
So
for you. So,
fast. Yes. And there's a quote that I don't remember the full of it, but it's so I'll paraphrase that when you say yes, like you did in your heart, and then you took the step that you reached out and you said, "Can you help me? Can you help me?" And somebody said no,
yeah,
but you're like, "I'm doing this," and you're still in that state of excitement and delight. The universe has no other option.
hmm,
Providence moves
yeah,
to support you. Yeah,
yeah,
that's what happened.
yeah,
That's what happened. And I've seen it so many times in my life.
mhm,
And that's why I think, this is the second um, collaboration book that I've written in. I've published two children's books, and those are, on their own. Um, but I said yes to this chapter because I think it's great to have so many of us sharing our stories in one book.
mhm,
When somebody buys a copy, they don't just hear from Sylvia Morrison, right? And they get to hear from however many of us are in the book,
mhm.
sharing our stories, and everybody who reads will see themselves in more than one story.
That's so true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they get to see. So that's for me, that is the selling point for this
mhm.
book. This is why I would say to someone, yes, buy the book so that it will become a bestseller. But I also say buy the book because you will see yourself in so many other people's lives in this one book.
That's so true. That's
In,
so good. Yeah,
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 yeah. Instead of going out and buying 12, 30 books so that you can resonate with, you can find yourself in it, you can pick up one book, and
hmm,
you have however many of us telling you our stories, not theories. That's the other thing. We're not talking theories in this book. We're
true.
not talking about what we've heard is possible. We're talking about our own walk from what seemed impossible into possibility.
Hmm.
How frightened we were,
Yeah,
how scared.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. And just jumping in,
Just do
jumping
it.
off, just
Yeah, it's so true.
right. And so I, yeah, I love the work that we do here in Ghana is beautiful. And I would love for people to come and visit. Every year we have volunteers who come from all over the world to visit. And I say to folks, come and volunteer
Hmm.
because I know that's like an entry point for people.
Absolutely.
It's a, right? But what I really am committed to for everyone who comes is a transformation that they leave with.
Right.
No one comes here to volunteer with Links Across Borders or cross my path and leave the same way that they
That
came.
would be impossible. There's no way that they would. Well, I now, you're actually the second person in the past 2 years that I've met who lives in Ghana or has lived in Ghana. And, I really hadn't given it that much thought, to be honest, but I am really motivated now to come and see what it's all about. I've heard amazing things. I've heard about the inoculation with love. I mean, it's a different quote, but
Yeah.
I've heard of that, and I really want to. So, I'm definitely going to look you
Yes.
up. And obviously, I'll write everything, in the description of this live. I'll, tag your account so people can learn more. But,
Yeah.
obviously,
And
everybody on the call, like this book, this Believe Beyond book is coming out on February 12th. And, we'll all be sharing the link. So I hope everybody goes out and buys a copy and gets a copy for their mom and their sister and their best friend
yes.
and their coworker. But also, I hope that everybody can just learn a little bit more. So if people want to learn more about you, is the best and your work is the best
Yes.
way to do that on Instagram, or what's the best way to do that?
Instagram is great. If folks message me on Instagram, I always respond.
Okay.
I'm also on Facebook.
Okay.
Um, just my name, Sylvia Morrison.
Mm-hmm.
And Links Across Borders also has a Facebook page, also has an Instagram page. So
Okay.
yes, that's the
Okay.
easiest way.
Yay.
Yeah.
Sylvia,
I love it.
it is morning for me. And it's afternoon for you, right? It's like
Yes,
almost dinner.
it's 5:02 p.m. right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I just gotta say, I feel like the luckiest girl in the world that I get to start my day with this energy, because I really feel my heart has expanded at least 5 sizes, and I'm just starting my day. And this is a great day. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for being on here. I think I'm gonna hang up soon to get on with my day, but I really, really appreciate, and I really feel like so expanded in my heart and my eyeballs from trying not to cry.
Thank you so much. It's okay to cry. I think we should cry more. Yeah.
I already cried this morning, so I got my quote. But right.
You got your quota for the day. Okay. Thank you so much, though, for initiating this conversation. I really appreciate it, Sarah. It's
Thank you.
beautiful.
I will follow up with you. You're an incredible woman, and I'm so glad that I know you now.
Thank you. You too. And maybe I might need some social media help anyway, so
Yeah, good.
it'll be great.
I'll give you some ideas for sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Bye, Sylvia. Good
Take
night.
care. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.